The traditional approach of observing a teacher once, twice, 3 times a year, giving written feedback, producing a whole school inset programme that all staff will benefit from, hadn't really seen the improvements that we were looking for in terms of improving specific skills that a teacher might need to focus on. So we looked at some research in terms of best practice. We did lots of reading and decided that instructional coaching with a focus on small bite-sized elements of pedagogy would be the best fit for our staff. All staff participate in coaching and have reflected really positively on the impact it's had on their own personal teaching. We hear a lot more talk about pedagogy in the staff room and around the building. And we've surveyed staff and the feedback is overwhelmingly positive, with 96% of staff feeding back that they feel it's had a really positive impact on their own practice. So we are seeing teachers who are becoming more confident in their own practice, more confident in reflecting on their own teaching practice, being able to watch themselves back on video and identify those small gains that can be made through practice, through reviewing. We are seeing an improvement in teaching and learning across the school, which of course is benefiting pupils' learning. And as a result, we are seeing an increase in pupil numbers. We are seeing really high quality staff apply in to be teachers at this school because of the feel we have in the school around professional learning and the support we provide for our staff when they become part of Team Heolddu. So as a result of the impact we've seen in our school, we've been able to work with the EAS to provide professional learning for other schools in the region. We started with our feeder schools, so all of our cluster came on board quite early on and embraced coaching and the use of the walkthroughs to improve teaching and learning. They then participated in an EAS conference alongside myself, where we presented to the regional head teachers. And as a result, 120 schools in the EAS region have benefited from some training with us and are undertaking their own coaching and coaching professional learning journeys in their own school.
In an instructional coaching cycle, and every teacher takes part in an instructional coaching cycle, the teacher partners with a coach and they observe an aspect of classroom practice, so either through video or an in-person observation. They work with the teacher then to identify some of the learning problems in the classroom. It's very student focused, so they look at the things that the students are struggling to do and they can compare the students' success against the intentions of the teacher. They use this information then to generate a goal for coaching, and then once the goal has been established, they use the walkthroughs toolkit to identify some potential strategies that might help the teacher close the gap and work towards that goal. And that cycle happens then 4 times a year for every teacher in the school, and the coach will then continue to work with that teacher in each cycle to model the practice into being, into reality, and then to support the teacher to make sure that that practice is implemented in the long term. Every teacher can improve, not because they're not good enough, but because they can be even better. And that's regardless of how long they've been in the classroom, regardless of how long they've been teaching. So the premise of instructional coaching is that we provide personalised support for every teacher in the school so that they can be the best version of themselves in front of the children. So they can identify the areas in which their practice can be refined, and it's often very small tweaks. And instructional coaching presents us with a really good bet. There's a lot of literature around professional learning and what works and what the mechanisms required might be. But for instructional coaching, the evidence is really strong to say if it's done well, if it's implemented successfully, it can make a real difference in the long term to teachers' practice.
The main thing is that it's completely non-judgmental. So I go in to work with a curriculum team. So I work with a group of people at the same time. And I'm there to facilitate and support them in moving the pupils forward. So normally we identify things that are going really, really well in the area, and things that we really need to praise that team for. And then we have some identify meetings where we look at areas where we might be able to nudge pupil progress on, and we're looking at small achievable steps to move those pupils forward rather than looking for big gains that aren't really as achievable. And then once I've identified the area that I think those members of staff could work on to support those pupils, we then try and break that down by using the walkthroughs, and we look at whether there are walkthroughs there that specifically support what that department's looking to achieve. So we have a cluster for writing, for reading and for oracy within our literacy strategies that we're using. So I think the main thing is it's non-judgmental, and it actually sees pupil progress, whereas the traditional forms of observation of staff was very focused on the teacher, and even if anything was identified, nothing really happened, and it wasn't focusing on the pupils. Whereas team coaching is about these small gains that we can make with the pupils, with the staff all coming together in that team.
I prefer the whole process. I think it's more developmental in the sense of getting to record your lesson and to come and reflect on the key skills that you're having, rather than have a non-subject specific person come and observe it and that pressure of the whole hour. The response then, I think, is a non-judgmental, and it just provides me with a set of skills that I can use then daily and repeat and reflect upon, so it becomes more of a reflective practice. It just gives me an opportunity to reflect as an ongoing process, and it just refreshes myself. So obviously I've been a teacher for 9 years now, so going back and looking at the key skills that help your lesson rather than the content is just really beneficial. And things like your questioning, just learning to develop it a little bit more and to involve the learners within your lesson and make them more focused of the whole process of structure again. Instructional coaching is hugely benefiting me, and I think it's hugely benefiting the staff. We've all got the same use of language, and coming into our classrooms, it's discussions in the staff room, and it makes the whole process of our professional development a lot more accessible. And the learners as well, they're picking up on the keywords that I'm using, other teachers are using them, and I think the whole process is really beneficial to us as a school.